Hey guys, I've got a really interesting video here. This is celebrities who now work normal jobs.
The Bucket in Willy Wonka to the Shermanator from American Pie.
Ah.
These are celebrities who work normal jobs now,
We got a
beginning with
few.
Hayden Christensen, who gave up his fame as a Hollywood actor to return to the world of manual labor.
Really? My concept of time must be really off. Because I thought Hayden Christensen, even after Star Wars, was always in stuff. Like in the 2000s, I think he was in that movie Awake. What was it with Jessica Alba? And then he was back in Kenobi. Yeah, it was Kenobi, wasn't it? On the Disney Channel. So I didn't realize there was that amount of time in the middle where he wasn't getting booked. And he was actually working a real job. I wouldn't have even thought that he would need to. I would have thought he'd be already gotten a pretty packet from the Star Wars universe. I'm surprised.
After appearing in the third Star Wars movie in 2005,
which was a great film,
Christensen
number 3.
explained that he felt he hadn't really earned his fame, stating, "I guess I felt like I had this great thing in Star Wars that provided all these opportunities and gave me a career, but it all kind of felt a little too handed to me."
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. A lot of entertainers in all fields, athletes, I guess you could say content creation, actors, whatever, musicians, they sometimes get imposter syndrome. They'll finally make it to where they're earning a living doing what they love, and you know, all the effort that they've put into their craft is now becoming fruitful, and they'll feel like they don't deserve it, or I'm going to be found out. And I could imagine that being in a beloved role like Star Wars would have been exceptionally tough, because it's a role that's very polarizing and comes with a lot of criticism. You're never going to keep everyone at least happy in that franchise, you know what I mean? So I couldn't imagine how tough it was for him. I get it.
Also adding that he liked the idea of deliberately sabotaging his fame just so he could start from scratch. "You can't take years off and not have it affect your career," he admitted. "But I don't know, in a weird sort of destructive way, there was something appealing about that to me."
It's so fascinating, and it's true. It's just like every man needs a mountaintop to climb. My favorite quote is in John Wick 4, and that's, "A man without purpose is just a ghost looking for a grave." And the journey is just so much more important than the destination. And look at all the success that Michael Jordan had as a big example. I mean, he ran off away from basketball to play baseball, you know what I mean? Just because he needed a new mountaintop. People argue that there was more to it than that. It doesn't get much bigger than starring in the lead role in Star Wars. And yeah, I guess it just wasn't spiritual fulfilling for him anymore. Really rough, really rough.
For this reason, Christensen decided to purchase a farm just outside of Toronto, Canada, so he could get into the world of agriculture, stating, "I'm trying to figure it out, it's all new to me, but I would eventually like it to be a fully operational farm with livestock and
that was his new
crops.
mountaintop.
I've got
Nothing
a
wrong
tractor
with
and
that.
an excavator, and I'm learning to use all the construction equipment. Right now there's an apple orchard that I want to extend, and I've started a small vegetable garden, and I want to turn a hayfield into lavender," which also led to his own line of country clothing through a company called RW.
Obviously, the world of farming is probably not as fancy smancy as the acting career, but if that's what he needed to do to feel happy, then kudos to him. I respect that deeply. I really
Christensen
do.
has since been spotted at numerous farmers markets and maintains that the farm is going well.
How's things going, man? How's the farm? Good. Farm's good.
However, while Hayden Christensen is still kind of working for himself, Stephen Anthony Lawrence has since found a different type of employment since he played Beans in Even Stevens. After the show came to an end in 2003, Lawrence struggled to land
I never
any
watched this show
teen
myself.
roles, as he went bald only 1 year later at the age of 14, stating in a Vice interview, "I mean,
It's actually possible to go bald by the age of 14? That must be very, very, very rare. I remember when I was growing up, I used to work at McDonald's with a nice guy. I've forgotten his name, but he had a glorious head of hair at 18. And then I left and pursued other ventures. I came back a few years later and caught up with him, and he was like dirt bald at like 21. And I was like, geez, that has to be rare, because that was the first time I ever met anyone that young that has gone bald. And this poor kid got bald at 14. Well, I mean, at least the advantage is you get used to having a cone head before you're an adult. I mean, just rock it out, bro.
It sucks, but you come to terms with it. During the same interview, Lawrence explained that both of his parents were then diagnosed with cancer, making it even more difficult for him to return to acting, having stated, "You're being a caregiver, you've got to be there to change diapers. And you can't do that when you're on auditions. That's physically impossible, it just wouldn't work." After both of his parents tragically passed away, Lawrence returned to the workforce as a part-time actor alongside another interesting job, Santa's little helper at the Sun Valley Shopping Center. Fans have been flocking to the mall to get their own selfie with Beans, and he seems to be having a good time with it.
But he's there at the mall entertaining kids, seems to be getting spiritually fulfilled. I'm going to be using that term a lot, I think, during this video. And making a lot of people happy, not just the kids, but the people that used to watch him on TV. Doesn't always have to be about money to have a happy ending. Hopefully there's more positivity that comes with this story as we go along.
If Instagram captions are to be believed, he's making dreams come true, which is certainly more than that mall Santa can say. Beans explained in the Vice interview that he took the role to honor his father, stating, "Dad was really into Christmas. He was a big Clark Griswold guy, so this was kind of my way to feel close to him during the holidays and do something cool for people."
I tell you what, that Christmas Vacation movie, not to go on too much of a tangent, is probably even more relevant now compared to what it was 30 years ago. Imagine working for some corporation, slaving away, only to have like a week off with your family and a very special Christmas with them that you want to look after them with, and so forth, with money, gifts, food and everything. And then your boss, who is a billionaire, is too stooge to give you a Christmas bonus. Let that sink in. Probably more relevant now than what it was 30 years ago, huh? Strange times.
However, it was Danny Lloyd from The Shining who decided that the world of media just wasn't for him. Apart from 2 other minor appearances, The Shining became Danny's only major role on the big screen, and considering he was only 6 years old at the time, he'd returned to school like any other
I had that
person.
haircut even
I'm
in the
glad
90s.
I was in The Shining. It just wasn't something that panned out, and I decided to go back to being a regular kid in school.
Well, to be fair, when he was in The Shining, he was exceptionally young. I don't know his exact age, but he looked like he was probably, about 8, 9, or 10 at the absolute most in that role. Sometimes opportunities just come around for young kids that you just can't refuse. I mean, look at Macaulay Culkin, for example. He was a very young actor in like Home Alone, Uncle Buck, and obviously he was typecast as a cute kid, and then later on it was never quite the same, but he still got regular acting work. But I guess the point is, when you are young, you can sort of at least decide, hey, if this is what you want to continue or not continue. Probably a break would actually not be a bad thing for actors who are young, so they're not going to get typecast in the one role, and they can almost hit the reset button. But anyway, I'm going on a massive tangent here. Let's continue the video.
I worked at the local Walmart. I also worked on a hog farm driving a tractor and working with the hogs. A Hollywood life probably wouldn't have been for me anyway. In a different interview, Danny explained that he used these farm jobs to pay his way through university, which ultimately led to the full-time job he works now, biology teaching at a high school.
Oh,
Lloyd
wow.
learned fast that being the kid from The Shining was not a fact he needed to share with pupils looking for chinks in his authority.
They probably wouldn't
It was
remember the
disruptive
movie
in class,
anyway.
so that's when I began to really play it down. Were the kids waggling their fingers hissing red rum? He laughs good-naturedly, yes, very occasionally, but enough for me to know I had to downplay it. As a teacher, you're supposed to be in control.
Time is the great leveler at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, a movie that was so famous like The Shining, that was so beloved for many reasons back then. You know, obviously we're a good few generations forward now. People who love horror movies will probably use that as or thrillers or whatever, will probably use that as a benchmark now. But overall, most generations Z are not going to even remember or have even seen that movie. No matter how impactful something that anyone does, you know, eventually it's going to be forgotten when we long leave the planet. So, yeah.
Which has got to be an outlook shared by Carrie Henn, who also ditched Hollywood to work in education. After playing the character Newt in the 1986 classic Aliens, Henn decided not to pursue full-time acting and instead continued with her schooling.
Well, I mean, everyone to this day, even like 35 years on, thanks to South Park, is like, they mostly come out at night. Mostly.
For this reason, she fell out of the public spotlight for over 30 years, returning in a 2016 Comic-Con interview with Kevin James to state that she'd rather found traditional employment.
I always wanted to be a teacher, so I went to school to be a teacher.
Tell them what you do.
I teach 4th grade.
Yet it was Vanilla Ice whose career change was significantly more surprising.
Yeah, and you know, Vanilla Ice is considered to be a one-hit wonder, but Vanilla Ice in interviews has always said, hey, you know what, I actually had like a whole catalog of music that was very, very successful. And it probably did make him a lot of money. But at the end of the day, people just remember Ice Ice Baby. Again, it's probably time being the whole leveler, and that's what's left of his legacy. You know, you probably got similar artists like MC Hammer and stuff who had a big catalog as well, but they remember one or two songs. When your time's up in the industry, and it's time to move on, I guess. Let's see what happened to Vanilla Ice.
He found massive success in 1990 with the now infamous song Ice Ice Baby,
Sure.
Yet his music career had almost no longevity, with many considering Vanilla Ice to be a one-hit wonder. With his music career in the dumps, Vanilla Ice tried his hand at motocross racing and even professional jet skiing, which worked reasonably well given he peaked as the world's #6 ranked sit-down jet ski racer, competing nearly every weekend and earning a Kawasaki sponsorship.
I mean, I don't have much to say about jet skiing because I don't know too much about the sport, but come on, man. Imagine climbing one mountain, succeeding in the top of your field, and then climbing another mountain, and then getting high on that mountain as well. I mean, Vanilla Ice here, to me, sounds like he's a total overachiever. This is awesome.
At the same time, Vanilla Ice began to go down a dark path of drug addiction, leading to his disappearance from the spotlight. However, in 2010, the name would reappear in a show about houses called the Vanilla Ice Project. He'd become a renovator. The show ran for over 9 years, displaying countless different construction projects, yet this wasn't the only normal job that Vanilla Ice wound up doing.
He was also in That's My Boy, wasn't he? With Adam Sandler, if I'm not mistaken. That was pretty cool. I know some people didn't like that movie. I did. I heard he also did a sales job. We'll find out from Sunny V2 as well. Nothing wrong with making your way. Look, the entertainment industry is not going to be forever. So it's just about letting it go, moving on, and finding other mountaintops. Easier said than done, of course. Like, imagine if you had all the success, the fame, and the love, and it was all gone. On a smaller scale, being in the entertainment industry for the last 2 decades, I've experienced it. It's not pretty. I'm so thankful that I haven't gone into a line of substances or anything, although I'll admit I've been a little bit of a heavy drinker in the day. That was my way of coping. We could talk about that in another video. A little bit of compassion here, you know what I mean? Some people might be laughing, ah ha ha, you has been. But you know what? We're all human beings at the end of the day, and we all have a journey.
In 2013, an article was published to the website Joe reading, "He's transformed himself from rapper to lighting salesman. We guess when the lights go out on a rapping career, you have to find a way to turn them on again. But by selling lights and lighting designs, really? Mr. Ice currently works for Capital Lighting in Florida
Don't be
and
hating,
has designed
man.
what he calls Vanilla
our
Ice
thing.
Lighting, a line of chandeliers and wall sconces. Check out this advert for lighting starring Ice himself. And yes, he actually says lights, lights, baby.
No one's better at anyone on a straight human level. Obviously, on a society level, you can argue, yes, different classes and different tiers and everything. But from a pure human level, no one's better than anybody. So yeah, I just think that if you make fun of someone for what it is that they do and how they're trying to contribute, I think it's pretty despicable.
However, it was Peter Ostrom from Willy Wonka who decided that instead of living in a chocolate factory, he'd rather look after animals.
Well, you see, he had to work so hard because Grandpa Joe is a total bum. Jokes aside, let's continue.
Shortly after appearing in the film, the Ostrom family purchased a horse, sparking what would become a lifelong interest in farm animals.
Oh, wow.
After finishing high school, Ostrom worked in an equestrian center in Pennsylvania, which was followed by his college graduation with a veterinary degree, having been inspired by the vet who looked after
still looks like him.
horse. I can remember the veterinarian
You still
coming out and
recognize
taking
him.
care of the horses, and it made a huge impression on me. This person really enjoyed what he did for a living. My father was a lawyer, and I really didn't have a clue what he did all day, but I knew exactly what the veterinarian did. Someone making a living from something he enjoyed so much really sparked my interest.
Early movie wonders. I wonder how they get the role. I wonder if they had a big interest in pursuing acting when they were young and then just changed their mind, or if they just saw an ad in the paper one day that says auditions for so-and-so and they just took a chance and got it. Own mountaintop is their own business, of course, but I'm still curious about it.
Ostrom was so entrenched in the idea of becoming a vet that he never returned to Hollywood. His one and only acting role, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, having stated, "Acting was fine, but I wanted something more steady, and the key is to find something that you love doing, and that's what my profession has given me." Although he's not the only celebrity on this list to dedicate his life to the medical field, as Jennifer Stone from The Wizards of Waverly Place followed a similar pathway. Only 1 year after the show came to an end in 2012, Stone was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, with her experience in the hospital inspiring her to join the medical field.
I was gonna say, it's a very, very serious illness, of course, diabetes. It's not a life sentence. Why would you give up acting? But I guess that inspired her to do other roles in her life, such as medicine. So let's continue.
To make sure that nobody ever had to experience that when they were going through uncertainty. I know it's a
one of
drop
those
in the
light bulb
bucket,
moments.
but
Well, that's
something I could
actually
do.
pretty
While
nice.
maintaining minor acting roles on the side, Stone began to volunteer at a Burbank medical center, and by 2019 she'd become a fully qualified nurse, stating, "I just see so much more of humanity than I ever saw before nursing. I've seen parts of humanity that I don't know if I would have ever seen without it. It's a beautiful thing and it's heartbreaking, and it's a great reminder to be thankful for the things that you do have." Since
You know, there's two ways to make a pivot in life, really, or two circumstances. It's usually like years of self-reflection to get a light bulb moment, or it's something circumstantial, like a tragedy or a health event, or some big major circumstance that happens in your life, you know what I mean? Sometimes it takes people 10, 20, even 30 years to pivot towards some other meaning in their life. So I guess the fact that she did it so quick is a blessing within itself.
becoming a registered nurse, it seems Jennifer Stone has pretty much retired from acting. However, this hasn't stopped her from being recognized by some of her patients.
And I had a lot of patients that are like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing here?
But whatever happened to the Shermanator?
Oh, everyone's favorite nerd.
Well, according to IMDb, real name...
After the first handful of American Pie movies, they brought out all the spin-offs with Stifler's brother, and wasn't he in those movies as like the school principal as well or something? I'm not sure. I guess we're about to find out.
Chris Owen continued to land role after role following the iconic
Yeah, I thought he was
Yet
doing
on
a lot of
the 28th
movies.
of September 2012, a post was made to Reddit reading, "At a sushi restaurant in Santa Monica, the Shermanator was my waiter."
I mean, I don't know how much he was getting paid for all his movies. He seemed to have regular acting work after the original American Pie movies. I mean, I'm not going to judge somebody, but sometimes people mismanage their money. Who says he doesn't actually want to serve food to people? There are some people that probably get purpose from actually serving food to people. Everyone's mountaintop is different. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It just has to make sense to them. But let's see what happened.
Approximately 1 year later, additional photos were sent to the Radar website, with the sender stating it was kind of funny watching the Shermanator serve at a sushi restaurant. It was also sort of sad to see how quickly and easily an actor can fall from fame.
Everyone's just trying to make their way. Why is it even that much of a big deal? It's not even your business.
No one in the restaurant even seemed to recognize him. When interviewed by the Daily News 3 years later, Owen stated, "Life doesn't always go the way you planned. I love acting and this job lets me stay in the fight."
And also, you need to remember that you take teenagers or young adults and put them in the entertainment industry without any life experience. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to be bitches, booze, and alcohol. Look at Bieber and look at how much of a hard time they used to give Bieber. He got discovered, when he was 14 or 15? And everyone's always making fun of how he acted in the entertainment industry. The guy was a teenager given all this opportunity, people throwing themselves at him, waiting on him hand and foot. How do you think you would handle that in your teens? I do get that these celebrities are in circles that most people couldn't even fathom. Human beings at the end of the day go, guys.
"I get recognized a lot," he says. "I walk up to the table and see the look in their eyes. People get excited and it feels good. I like connecting with people for that brief moment in time," although in December 2018, it seemed Chris Owen recognized that he'd need a long-term career path, as he'd make a post to his Instagram stating that he'd joined a property company called Compass, with his following post showing that he'd become a real estate agent.
Oh,
but
good
while
for him.
Chris Owen took these positions
make
out of
him some more
necessity, it was Susan Boyle who got a day job just so she could return to being a normal person.
So Susan Boyle was that lady from the X Factor, about 15 years ago? I remember she went up on stage looking very, very awkward. She's a peculiar looking woman, obviously, to be kind, and I think people were kind of snicking and giggling, and human beings are fucked in that department. And then she started singing, and she sounded like an absolute angel, and then the rest was history. And everyone wanted to market this talented, unusual-looking woman. Never knew what happened to her, actually, after her initial success, so I'm keen to hear.
Despite having a net worth of over $40 million,
Wow.
Susan has often been commended for living an extremely humble life, having raised over £42 million for charity whilst continuing to live in her childhood home.
What a wonderful human being. 42 million pounds for charity. That's not peanuts. Yeah, that looks like a very modest home as well. Everyone has different needs, you know what I mean? But I don't think anyone needs like 10 sports cars and 5 mansions. In my case, I would like a nice big house, maybe one nice car, and the freedom to do what I want when I want. And with anything I'd have left over, I'd like to contribute and do some good as well. And kudos to this lady. This chick who got it all needs even less than what I would need. She seems like a phenomenal human, to be honest.
However, Susan Boyle's desire for normality was best highlighted in an article from June 2014 titled "Millionaire Susan Boyle Applies for a £6 an Hour Cashier Job in Her Local Bookmakers," with the article reading, "The 52-year-old singer is reported to have applied for a minimum wage £6 an hour cashier's job after spotting a job advert in the window of her local bookmakers Ladbrokes. Upon reading the advert on Thursday afternoon, Susan entered the premises and spent around 5 minutes talking to the shop's deputy manager David Core, 28, about
the lady is worth £40 million, and she still found happiness in working a job for £6 an hour. I'm guessing the only reason she even took the money is for legal reason. Man, that's awesome. I love it. I don't have anything else to add.
the role. Susan Boyle walked into the shop and inquired about the job advertised in our window. We were all in shock. Obviously, she doesn't need the money, so I think she saw it as a way of getting her out of her house and taking her mind off
looking after her
things,
mental
with the article
health,
also
well-being.
implying that it'd be a good way for her to reintegrate with the local community. Interestingly, it seems Boyle didn't end up getting the job. However, Kevin Jonas was a little more lucky. When the Jonas Brothers took a hiatus back in 2013, two of the brothers pursued their own solo projects, yet the third brother, Kevin, decided to leave music altogether and walk a slightly different path.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because I guess the older you get, the quicker the time goes. Because 2013 doesn't seem like all that long ago, where the Jonas Brothers was all the rage. And now, boom, just like that, almost the click of the fingers, it's 12 years later. Almost another generation's worth of life since then. That's pretty crazy, man.
He'd dive into the world of construction, creating a property development business called Jonas Werner, and would also become the co-CEO of a social media business called the Blue Market Company. But while you could still
He's
consider
not
this
actually
far
doing
from
the
a
labor,
normal
though.
job, it's time to talk about Nikki Blonsky, who's perhaps one of the greatest examples of giving up fame to go back to a regular life. Blonsky's first ever acting role was in Hairspray the movie, so it was kind of funny that only 4 years later, she'd get her cosmetology license before landing a job as a hairstylist in her hometown.
The inspiration, right? Acting, mucking around with hair, to doing hair stuffs in real life. I mean, sometimes that's a trigger you need.
Superstar is happy to announce our newest employee, our cosmetologist Nikki Blonsky from Hairspray, which was followed by a tweet to Nikki Blonsky's Twitter confirming her new part-time position. It's true I'm working at Superstar Salon as a makeup artist, and I'm proud to be working and helping pay bills, but I'll never lose sight of my dreams. Just because I'm
she's not
part-time
doing it
working
because
doesn't
she
mean I'm
loves it,
going to
she's
give up
doing
on
it
my
as a stepping
dreams.
stone.
Don't give up on yours. I might book something big soon, keep positive, and apparently she made the right decision by doing this, given the customer feedback. I was so surprised today when I showed up at Superstar to get my makeup done, and it turned out to be Nikki Blonsky applying it. She did a great job, and I really look like a superstar.
I have to tell you, I respect all these celebrities. The fact that they gave up a lucrative life of acting and opportunity in the limelight to chase other spiritual ventures, I think that's a wonderful thing and something that we can all be inspired by. Chase happiness, guys, not the wallet.